Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sheila. In today's video we are going to be learning how to pad our bralettes or any crochet tops that have bra cups. So this tutorial is my previous tutorial. This is the top that I made in my previous video, and my client wanted it padded, so I had to work out all means to sort her out. So I decided to film this video so that you can also know how to go about it. So you can notice the difference between this side and this side. This side has the bra cup already pinned down to where I want the cups to be on the inside of the top. So the first thing that you're going to consider is the size of the bra cup. Sometimes I even go ahead and cut them to the shape that I want. So this is the size that I got for mine. The sizes are not indicated, and I had used it for some different project, so I just got it out because that project was just lying around and I didn't want to waste resources, so I decided to use the ones that I had before. So you're going to determine the size that's appropriate for your bralette. So depending on the size that you did for your top, you're going to find an appropriate bra cup for it. So for me, this is what I decided to use, and it's the same exact size as this one, just that I've pinned it down. So you'll need bra cups. You also need pins to pin down that bra cup to where you want it to be positioned. Then you also need a small needle. I'm going to be using a very small tapestry needle. I'm going to be using this very small tapestry needle because I'm going to be using a very thin yarn so that we don't see where we attached our bra cup. And then the yarn that you will need to attach needs to be close to the yarn that you used for your project, but I don't have anything close to this, so I'll be using this. I think it's neutral enough. The other colors are a bit too hard. I have red, I have green, dark green, so I'll be using this silver like color. Yeah, and a pair of scissors, and that's it. So let's begin. So the first thing that we're going to do is to position our bra cup just like we did on this side. So I'll be doing it on this side too. So you're going to get your bra cup and position it. This flat side is the side that goes on the outside of the bra cup, of the bralette, like that. And then this one, this pointed part, you're going to make sure it's aligned with the pointed part of the bralette. And I got a size that's within this size, so that we don't see that bra cup through the mesh. So you attach this point, that pointed side to the pointed side, and then grab your pins. Okay, and the first thing that you're going to do is to pin down that point. So make sure I go in. Sometimes the bra cups are a bit hard, so you're going to have to be very careful so that you don't pierce your fingers. So I have my very first pin down there. Then you grab your next one. You're going to notice that we have shrinkage on the top, so the bra cup seems to be longer. So when you're pinning down this upper side, you're going to have to give it a tug. You stretch it a bit like that, and then hold and put your next pin like that, and then do the same thing. Pull it a bit to the outside so that you can lengthen the crochet garment, and then go out like that. So you're noticing that the top has started covering the bra cup. So we continue doing that. I think this will be my very last tag, because now we're at the edge of our bralette. And then the other thing that I want you to notice is I leave some space to see the stitches of the bralette. This is where I'm going to be attaching the bra cup to the bralette, so you need to see where you're going to be placing your stitches. So I give it some little room there, and then I'm placing my very last pin at that point. You have to be very careful. These bra cups are a bit hard. So we're done pinning down the upper side, and this is the same exact thing that we have on this side. So you see, the bra cup fitted exactly at this point behind, like not into the mesh but behind it. So we are going to now pin down the side. So let me do this. And then you're going to grab your next pin and keep pulling your work a bit so that you have some stitches sticking out of the bra cup, because this is where we're going to be attaching our bra cup to the bralette. So that's one. And then make sure the bra cup fits into the bralette. So we are still attaching. So this is my very last on the side, and this is what I have. And now we're going to pin down the next side. This is not very urgent, but this is very urgent. When you turn your work like this, you will be seeing, this is the one I pinned down already, and you can see the mesh is very clear and we don't have a bra cup in the way. And when you turn to this one that we haven't yet totally pinned down, we have that view that's unsightly. We have that funny view there. We have the bra cup sticking out of the mesh, so we want to eliminate that. So turn your work to the wrong side, and we are going to pin down that part, that half of the bra cup. And the way we do that, we are going to keep pushing our work a bit down. So I'm pulling my work a bit down and then placing a pin. So that's one. And then grab your next and pull. We need to see some stitches on the outside, because those are the ones that are going to be attaching our bra cup to the bralette. So that's another one. So this is what I'm meaning. You see those stitches? They will help out when we are joining the bra cup. Then we are going to put our third. Two are enough, but if you see you don't have enough coverage, you pin down the third. And that's it. So we are done with this, and when you turn it to this side, you can see what we have right now. The pins are getting into the cushion at the bottom, sorry. So this is what we have right now, and you can see we've gained shape for our bralette. And now you can see that mesh detail on the edge of our bralette is untouched. We are not seeing bra cups through the mesh. So the next thing that you need to do, you're going to do this on both sides. So for me, I had already done one side, and I just needed to show you how to do that. And now it's time to pin them down permanently with the needle and thread. So you're going to thread your tapestry needle. So let me do that and then get back. So I'm back. It took me like forever to get the eye of this needle because it's very, very small. And right now we're going to start attaching. So I'm going to sit down. I'm going to be attaching from this point. Let me see. I'll be attaching from this point upwards, then down, then down. So I'm going to turn my work to this side. And then the first thing that I'm going to be attaching is the exact middle. So I'll go onto the mesh side and into the cup like that. You're going to have to make sure your string is kind of long enough so that you don't keep threading new string every time. So I'm just securing my yarn a bit. Yeah, so after this, I'm going to go into that exact spot for the second time. We're just securing our yarn so that we make sure it can't get out. And I'm using a double strand of yarn, if you've noticed. Then you're going to go into the next stitch. So we have these stitches in between the mesh. So I'm going to go into that and into the backup. That is once, and then I do it for a second time. So I'm not really good at hand stitching, so my thread is twisted, I guess. I'm just trying to solve that. So I sorted it out, and you're going to pull your yarn all the way through. So that's a total of 2 times. And then you go into the next chain 1 space. This is more like a chain 1 space because it's a stitch then a space. So I'm going to go into the next space and then grab the backup. So into this stitch, into the backup 2 times. So this is the very first time, and then this is the second time. So that's done, and then we go into the next space. This kind of stitching is just for this design because we have spaces, but if you don't have spaces, then you just go into each and every stitch. Okay, this is the second time, and at this point we can get rid of this pin that was holding down that part. And then we go into the next space and attach to the backup 2 times. Then go into the next. So I'm just skipping over the stitches and just going into the spaces 2 times. That's the flow for this particular top. But if I had made another design, definitely I would use another technique. So let me show you how the outside looks like. We are almost not seeing anything going on, but we are attaching our backup. So we are going to go all the way across, and as you go you can always pull out the thingy, the pins. So at this point I'm done attaching this one, and there's a pin at this point, so I don't need this anymore. And then I'm going to go into my next space and attach to the bra cup. This is once, and then twice. So you have to be a bit careful, because I don't know why my yarn is getting messed up. So I've made it all the way across the top of my bra cup, and this is what we have. Even the inside is very neat. It's almost like the seam is almost invisible. So this is what we have on the outside, and now we're going to be going to the side of our top. So we're going to remove, no, sorry, don't remove the pin yet. We're going to go into this mesh part into one stitch, and then attach it to the bra cup. And then you go into the next space, grab one stitch and attach it to the bra cup. So that's all we are going to do for the sides. You go into one stitch and attach it to the bra cup twice, like we've been doing here. So to the next space. So let me remove this. You can see we are achieving the same exact placement for our bra cup. So grab one stitch and attach it to the bra cup. This is once, and then twice, and then go into the next space and do the same all the way down. So for the sides, you're not skipping any spaces. We are going into each and every space just like we did for this, but you're not going into the stitches, just the spaces. You go into them twice, attaching to the bra cup. So we are getting rid of this pin too. I'll need to put them back in their box. You have to be careful with them, especially if you have kids around. So I want to just show you this whole process so that we remove our last pin on the side and we see how that turned out. Okay. So let me remove this and go into the very last side, the very last space where the bra cup lies. This is what we've come up with, and this is how the side looks like. Very neat still, and this is how the top looks like. So after this, I'm going to just go into the next space and attach this corner of the bra cup. Like that. And then I don't think I need to attach this part because it may tamper with the outlook of your top at this point, and it's in the middle of the bra cup, because when you do this, that line will be shown. So I won't be doing anything there. I'm going to go ahead and attach my yarn at this point and do the same exact thing up to around this point where the bra cup leaves the edge of the top, and then I'll show you what my top will look like after that. So I went ahead to work on this part until that point when the bra cup was leaving the edge of the top of the bralette, and I'm at this point and I'm going to just fasten off. I'm going to go in for a few more stitches and then I'll just fasten it off and make sure it's secure enough, it's not going to undo itself, and then I'll cut my yarn. So since I'm not very good with hand stitching, I leave some little string somewhere so that in case of anything it doesn't unravel. So this is how the complete bra cup will look like. So don't worry about the fold. I did this intentionally so that you don't get intimidated by these folds as you're pinning down your work. So this is what we had before, and check how it has turned out. And then when you turn to the outside of our work, it's looking so neat and so beautiful and well shaped, especially for people who want padded bralettes. And you can see with crochet, this I used 100% cotton yarn. It's called Lamia from Hobiam Yarns. And when someone has a big bust, they're very insecure about those small gaps. They feel like their boobs are being seen through. So once you attach this bra cup on the inside, she has nothing to worry about. She's going to walk confidently and be happy with her top. So we are going to go ahead and do the same exact thing on this side, what we've done on this side, and then I'll show you how my top looks like in its final stages. So let me go off camera and I just do the same exact thing for this side, and I remove the pins.